The 11th district is 12% Asian American, and more than half of those are Indian Americans. American democracy is on the line. For almost a quarter century, I've been an attorney representing communities of color in particular and other vulnerable Americans. We have one chance to make sure that the 2028 presidential election is free and fair. But the first race of 2026 is the contest right here in New Jersey's 11th district. I think India is one of the most vital American relationships around the world. We've got a president right now who's, adding tariffs and, adding all of these restrictions on how trade happens, making it more difficult for Indians to immigrate to the United States. My name is John Bartlett. I'm a county commissioner in Passaic County, New Jersey, and a candidate for the United States Congress in the 11th Congressional District. So late last year, we elected our Congresswoman, Mikey Sherrill, to be New Jersey's next governor, and that creates a vacancy in her seat in Congress. We have a special election coming up on the 5th of February, and a dozen of us contesting the Democratic primary election. I'm one of those candidates. I'm seeking the opportunity to represent this district in the United States Congress. For a dozen years, I've been a county commissioner in Passaic County. I've represented a wonderfully diverse community there. I take my Desi constituents, especially with concern and seriousness, because I'm a member of the community by marriage. My wife, Dr. Kathy Joshi, is Gujarati, born in Ahmedabad, and I have learned so much through her. I've had the opportunity to obviously spend a good deal of time in India, but also to really connect with the community here. And I've made it a purpose and a priority of mine to make sure that the community gets all of the responsiveness and opportunity that it deserves. And I can give you a couple of examples. A big issue for immigrant communities is language access. So when we did our 2020 census outreach, when we were counting all the people in our county, we did that not just in English and Spanish, but also in Arabic and Gujarati and Bengali. And the reason for that is that those immigrant communities from Bangladesh, from India, were a significant part of our population. And we wanted to make sure to count them, because when you count everybody, those communities get the resources that they need. It's how we know how to connect them with job opportunities and access to social services. It's how we know to prioritize the choices we make when we're funding schools and senior services. There is so much happening in northern New Jersey in our Desi communities. There's incredible business growth. There's wonderful opportunities. And we have that whole range. We have everything from older couples like my Sasu Sasra, who came here as part of that first wave of Indian American physicians, through the successive waves of business people and tech workers. And we've got a whole bunch of young people here now. We've got families across generations that are dealing with the whole range of issues that Desi communities deal with visa and legal status, with immigration issues, with racial and religious discrimination. And having someone who understands that from the inside and who is going to be responsive to those communities in particular is a priority of mine. The 11th district is 12% Asian American, and more than half of those are Indian Americans. So this is a district with places like Parsippany and Livingston and Short Hills and Randolph and Wayne, places that folks in your readership who are here in New Jersey will recognize as some of those Indian American enclaves. The places where we used to have to go for shopping at Patel Brothers before there was an Indian grocery store almost everywhere in New Jersey. We're very spoiled now. My law office used to be in Jersey City, so I'd hit Newark Ave on my way home to pick up whatever from Rajbog or do the shopping at Patel Brothers. And now, of course, it's everywhere, but in particular, some wonderful spots in the 11th Congressional District. And it's a moment when American democracy is on the line.
Why do you think so?
So I'm a voting rights lawyer. For almost a quarter century, I've been an attorney representing communities of color in particular and other vulnerable Americans who can have their voting rights denied because of economic disadvantage, because of a language barrier. I look at what the Trump administration is doing right now and the ways in which it is disinvesting in civil rights and voting rights and supporting the worst inclinations of people that want to be a very xenophobic and very different country than I believe America promises to be. So when I see that, I worry, and I find that my constituents worry as well. We have one chance to make sure that the 2028 presidential election is free and fair, and that is electing a voting rights lawyer from New Jersey's 11th district this spring. Next fall, in the fall of 2026, the entire country will elect their representatives in Congress. That will be the moment when we as Democrats regain the majority in the House of Representatives. But the first race of 2026 is the contest right here in New Jersey's 11th district, where we're going to set the standard, where we're going to set the dialogue that America is going to be talking about throughout 2026.
And that lot depends on where the Indian Americans, in particular the Gujarati Americans, vote.
Exactly right. Well, for me, it matters very personally because this is a special election. And in a special election, if you turn out your base and your supporters, you're going to be the winning candidate. And that's what we need to do with our Desi communities over these next 4 weeks. I don't know exactly when this is being published, but February 5th is less than 5 weeks away. That's the special election date. Anybody can vote by mail beforehand. There's going to be early voting starting on January 29th. But that February 5th date, that's the moment when Democrats in this district will decide who's going to be the next member of Congress. And they have the opportunity to represent someone who is responsive to the Indian American community because I'm part of it, someone who is focused on American democracy and protecting voting rights, and someone who, in my work as a county commissioner for a dozen years, has dealt with the affordability crisis that Americans, including Indian Americans, are dealing with right now. We run a healthcare facility in my county, so I understand why the big, beautiful bill has been so disastrous for families and why it's going to make it harder for all of us to get a quality of care going forward. I see why we need to not only roll that back, but take off the shelf the idea that got put away a while back called a public option, which is to have a public option for healthcare that competes with private insurance, keeps private insurance honest, and keeps a situation where money that we spend in healthcare is going to providers and going to the benefit of patients and not going to all this administrative process where those claims get denied and those opportunities for care get restricted. It's something I believe in as the son of a country doctor and as the son-in-law of a Indian American physician from that very first generation. And actually, I want to say happy birthday. My father-in-law just turned 80, and we celebrated with him down in Atlanta, Georgia. My wife and her parents were one of the first 15 Indian American families to settle in Atlanta, and now that's one of the most Desi cities in the United States. So I know these stories from the very beginning. I've watched the way that they've built a mandir and a community, the way in which those families have come together, and the way in which that second generation and third generation, like my son, who is both Hindu and Episcopalian, both Indian American and Scottish American, can feel like they are fully part of both communities. And that's something that's very beautiful for us.
So Congress does play a very important role in framing a country's national security and foreign policy. If you're elected to the Congress, how would you see play a role in India-US relationship?
I think India is one of the most vital American relationships around the world. And I know it hasn't always been a positive one, but from my vantage point, the just sheer range of ways in which the Indian and American economies connect are something we should be investing in. We've got a president right now who's, adding tariffs and, adding all of these restrictions on how trade happens, making it more difficult for Indians to immigrate to the United States. The H-1B visa fees and the refusal to make some of the corrections that the community needs, for example, for young people when they're aging out of H-4 visas. We need somebody who understands the real human meaning of all that work We need someone who has seen the way tariffs have impacted our Indian American businesses. I'm sure I don't have to tell your viewers. You go to Oak Tree Road in Edison now. You go to Newark Ave in Jersey City near my old law office, and things cost so much more, and business owners are struggling because that tariff has made it much more costly to sell the things that this community needs.
Wonderful. Any concluding remarks from you on the campaign, your message to the Indian Americans?
I think my message to the Indian American community is really twofold. First of all, I'm one of you. I don't look like one of you. I don't sound like one of you. But, Gujarati bolu છું. And I understand the community. I've connected with it in ways that I think present a real opportunity for meaningful representation in Congress. And the other thing I would say is that this is a special election. And if the people who support me come out, I will be the winner. And we've got communities here in New Jersey that politically are taken for granted, aren't always taken as seriously as they should be. The Indian American community is one of those communities. And this election on February 5th is a chance for the Indian American community to show its power, to show its political influence, and to make something really special happen that is going to resound for years in the future.